Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCoursey here with Courtnay Bradley. He's going to be sitting in for Matt Watson today. Courtnay, what's up?
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And before I tell all of our listeners who you are, I'm going to get a couple things out of the way.
Okay.
Today's episode of Startup Hustle is brought to you by Fullscale.io. If you want to see our beautiful faces, you can check us out on the Startup Hustle YouTube channel. And we are on Instagram at Startup Hustle Podcast. Now that is out of the way, I like to say pay the bills, but my own businesses don't actually pay our bills here. But
So let's back up a little second. You said YouTube, but then you said Instagram as well. So will this be?
We're on both, but not live, not
Okay.
the video.
Okay, good.
Someone will come in here and
Edit
like,
me out.
no, they'll take pictures of us.
Oh,
And like,
okay.
yeah,
Okay, got
yeah.
it. I got it.
And like, and if we decide to fire the money gun, or you do,
Yes.
later.
If
then
I can reach it, it's going on.
Well, that's why it's it's near me for a reason. So, well, with all this, Courtnay, you are the founder and chief purpose officer of Trilogie.
I am.
So this is true.
This is true.
Okay, we're
It's all
acknowledging
true.
that is true.
Yes.
So for those of you listening, you know I like it when you're interactive. So I want you to go to trilogie.life. Now I'm going to spell this for you. TRILOGIE.life or at TrilogyKC on the gram.
On the gram.
So, Courtnay, what is Trilogie? What do you guys do?
So I like to say we are a company who is obsessed with helping other companies create kick-ass workspaces where their people and their company thrive.
Okay, so why is that important at all?
It's important because we spend a great deal of our time in actual buildings. So whether it be the workspace that we're in, the coffee shops that we're working in, the schools that our children are learning in. So you're spending a lot of time there. So those places need to be as inspiring and as motivating and just kick ass so that we can go out and live our best lives in them.
I'm sitting here half laughing because that was like the maybe the most obvious but true statistic. Like we spend a lot of time in buildings.
We do.
And I tried to like think about that for a second. I was like, oh, it is what it is. We're inside a lot.
No,
but it's true.
90% of your life is spent indoors.
Yeah.
So
No, it's true.
It's crazy to think
Maybe
about
kind
that.
of sad.
Yeah, I know. I had someone.
I'm not sure I'm at that low of a number either.
Right.
Yeah.
It's I had someone on my own podcast and we were talking about that, and he said, with the exception of like park rangers and people who their job is literally outdoors.
I literally work
Yeah,
outside.
90%.
People
of our
that are
time.
active.
Yeah.
I'm active, but I do it
Not that
inside. I've got a gym in my house. Like, that's how sad it's become.
Treadmills, things like that.
And
Yeah.
by the way, you are the host of the Up Down podcast.
I am.
So podcast people, why don't you, while you're listening, go check that out.
Yes.
Hit subscribe, and while you're there, hit that 5th star.
I love it.
because
Thank you.
That's good stuff. And do it for us too. All right. So, your environment has a lot to do with your mentality.
Yes.
And before we hit record, we were talking about inspiration or other things, but it's pretty well known. Like if you're in remember the movie Joe and the Volcano, or Joe
Yes.
versus the Volcano? And like this is like the stereotypical crappy workplace, like lights flickering, no windows. It's just really bad.
Yes.
And the guy's like feels like he's terminally
Just
ill.
depressed and
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
gross.
Yeah, so a lot of this stuff is pretty important, and I feel like they're at 20 years ago, and yes, I'm old enough to remember 20 years ago, but this wasn't as big of a deal as it is now.
No.
Yeah.
No. I actually believe that wellness became kind of the first push where people were talking about wellness in the workplace and how important that was. And then that kind of morphed through to like ergonomics and having an ergonomically correct workstation
Sure.
and chairs that were ergonomic and accessories like monitor arms and keyboard trays. And then, that in a sense has morphed into being more people focused within your organization as opposed to company focused. Because if you're focused on the people and creating a great employee experience and you've got awesome culture and all that, the company will grow. Like, it's inevitable that that will happen. But if you're not focused on those things and you're just focused on, the company itself, then you're not going to see the kind of growth that you could.
The company is the people.
The company is the people, absolutely.
That's the thing. And
Absolutely.
some people don't get that.
No.
It's hard. You're talking about culture things, but, you want to have a great culture and you want to have a place that people want to go.
Yes.
And it's hard to get good people. You got to really be doing something significant to be like, but come work in this really dumpy place with kind of like where we're at right now with no windows. And like Meek, and I was complaining about how little sleep I've got this week, and now I've come to realize why. But no, this is important stuff. And 20 years ago, when I was 24, I remember like hearing about carpal tunnel.
Yes.
You mentioned ergonomic and stuff because it was my mom, and my mom had been a flight attendant and had developed it from like pushing that darn cart around for like 20 years. And I was like, that's not a real thing, but it is because I've actually had it before. And these are little things that don't seem like a big deal, but can really pull a lot of productivity and just
they really
zest.
can. If it's physically painful to do your job, you're not going to be very good at it.
Yep. So 4 years ago, I pinched a nerve in my neck. Mm-hmm. And I thought that I had done it trying to be like active and working out, but I hadn't done that. I had developed a little calcium deposit on the base of my neck from years of just looking down at a monitor, basically. And it pinched a nerve, and it was the most painful thing in my life ever. And like literally, I went to the chiropractor to I first went to the doctor. I thought I'd torn my rotator cuff because I hurt my neck, but my whole arm went numb. Like it was a horrible experience, but that's when I discovered the stand-up desk.
Yep.
And I'm gonna be honest, when I first heard of the stand-up desk, I was like, no, that's dumb. And now it's like,
you
it's
can't
key.
live without it.
No, I haven't had an issue with some of that, but these are the kind of things you're talking about when it comes to designing a workspace, right?
Absolutely.
Like having some thoughtfulness around it. So
thoughtfulness, that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Yes.
So at Trilogie, you guys are in the business of helping design kick-ass office spaces, but that I would imagine that has to have something to do with the personality of the business or the company too, right?
Yes, we've got a wild personality.
I can't believe that.
Right. No, not at all. I know, I'm real wallflower.
You did yell woo like you were Ric Flair on WWE or something right before, but I appreciated that. I'm kind of down or kind of tired in that regard. So I was like, all right.
Little jolt of energy.
But with that, like how do you approach it? So how do you design a kick-ass workspace? Like how does this happen?
So for us, we want to go in and we don't even talk about the basis of what we do is furniture. We help provide furniture for organizations. But we don't talk about that when we first go in because I can't just go into an organization and say, okay, you're moving and you have 25 employees and you need a place to put them. That's not what we're interested in. I can do that all day long. I've got a bazillion lines of furniture that I can help provide. But I want to know, what are your goals over the next 5-10 years? What are you trying to accomplish? What is your culture now? Is it where you want it to be? And if it's not, where, what do you want to see in the future as your culture? And then talk about, so something that we focus on is what we call the Fab Five. Which is helping organizations through the products and services that we sell to help them impact culture, employee engagement, employee experience, their wellness efforts, employee and workplace wellness, recruiting and retention, and then also innovation. So we talk to them about those things, and then we go back and help find the things that will help them hit those goals.
So how did you get into this?
I fell into this. 15 years ago, I was in the packaging business. I was selling boxes to manufacturers.
Sounds riveting.
Yes, it was riveting. So I was doing that, and I was very burnt out and just did not enjoy it.
You were feeling boxed in?
I was feeling, yeah, I see what you did there. I was feeling boxed in. And so I went on to Career Builder, which I don't even know if that's around anymore.
No, but there's something. There's Monster, Career
Yes,
Builder. Who
so
knows
I
what
always
it
feel
is.
like I
Might
date
just be
myself.
LinkedIn,
Yeah, so I went on Career Builder, and
Was that after updating your MySpace
it
page?
was yes, yes. And so I, ran across a post about this position in sales in the office furniture industry, and I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't know what contract furniture industry was, and I sent in my resume and got an interview, and really even then I was like talking to them about the position. And I'm like, I don't understand, because I'm thinking, I was putting it in terms of when you buy furniture for your house. You buy a bed, you're in it for a while. You buy a couch, you're not buying. I thought if you get a client, it's going to take you forever to get another client. Well, the commercial furniture industry is not that, not that way. You've got clients that are growing and expanding.
And a home buyer doesn't buy 180 desks.
Correct. That is
Yeah.
correct. So
That have a green top
Yeah,
or something like that.
exactly. So I fell into it that way, and got the job, and I was there for about 5 years, just almost 5 years. And an opportunity presented itself to go out on my own, and I learned a lot from that organization. But and I know this now, I didn't know it then. There was beginning to be a bit of a culture fit for me, and so, but I didn't know that's what it was at the time. But looking back and how the culture is such a big thing, and how we're learning more and more about it, I realize now that that's what it was. So I took a gigantic leap of faith, because I had never been a business owner before. And
none of us were until we
I
were.
I know. And here we are, 10 years later. We celebrated 10 years in July.
Congrats.
Thank you.
I mean, that's awesome. I have to assume along the way that, you're using terms like culture, engagement, wellness, retention, innovation. So you have to learn something about these things. And is some of that, I know the answer is yes. I'll let you respond in a second. But some of that is going to, I feel like some of these things are all responded to differently by different personality types.
Correct.
So that means there's variables and different stuff. So
there are very much variables. And the thing that I find is interesting is that, yes, I have been learning about these things over the course of my career. But at the time, again, I didn't know I was learning those things. It's now looking back, and the fact that we're focusing on this, I can look back and see where I learned kind of the right way and the wrong way to do some of these things, and how to impact these areas. And it's also, like you said, the personality types of the people that we're going and talking to. Not everyone still gets it. There are still organizations.
Excuse me, by the way.
Oh, you're fine. There are still organizations out there who don't think that it's important. He's choking.
So in order to learn more about a workplace's culture and what makes sense for them, you have to take some factors into consideration related to, obviously what the business is trying to accomplish, but also the personality types of the people that you're trying to design a kick-ass space for.
Absolutely. So I had my own podcast. I do a couple solo episodes, but I was talking specifically about personality types, not only of just leadership and their general personality and how they're leading their culture and the team that way, but the actual individual personality types of the employees. And I made a bold assertion that, typically companies lay out their space in regards to departments and things like that. You've got marketing over here, you got sales over here, you've got accounting, what have you. But that people work in different ways. There are people who are more introverted. There are people who are more extroverted, and then you've got ambiverts. And so I
What's an ambivert?
That's me. Actually, I'm an ambivert. So it's someone who can have that kind of extroverted personality. I can enjoy talking to anyone, and I can go out and, there's no strangers in my life. But that to recharge and reset and to really focus, I like to be by myself.
Okay, then I'm an ambivert too.
Yes. So, and sometimes it's exhausting to keep doing, events and things like that, because you're constantly on, is what I say. So
now with that and those spaces you mentioned, so I'm ADHD, and I need things to be kind of clean and orderly. You look around the studio, there's not a bunch of clutter.
No, there's not.
It helps me actually gain some kind of focus. Or in some cases, recharge.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
you feel really hectic when things are, at least I do. It's already a mess in my head.
right.
So if it's a mess with
It's a
everything
mess.
around me, it's kind of tough.
We're very similar. I see that now. But yeah, so my assertion was that if you more design and space plan and build your physical workspace around personality types, you could really create something amazing. So, if you've got an introvert who needs to kind of be by themselves in order to focus and process and get those things done, but you've got them sitting next to someone who's an extrovert and they're loud and they like to talk things out, and there's going to be friction there.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have an environment that is not the most welcoming to both of those personality types. And the extrovert's going to get annoyed with the introvert because they don't want to talk it out, and the introvert's like, oh my God, get away from me because I need to focus.
Yeah, and then I've actually spent a lot of time just researching and learning about personality types. I have a section in one of my books that's all about it.
Right.
Because you have to understand your own, and then also the personality type of the person you're trying to communicate with.
Yes.
And if they're opposite, you got to make some
It's
adjustments.
tricky.
Yeah, but with that, you mentioned designing things, and so certain personality types do trend towards different quote departments.
Yes.
Or
Like salespeople are typically extroverts.
They
They're
should
going to
be.
go out. They're going to be able to talk to people. They are going to want to bounce ideas off of people. So
where software developers are
oh
usually
no, they
the
like
opposite.
yep, they like
They should not be right next to each other. Not a good fit.
no, and they like the developers like a cave-like environment where
Mhm.
it's dark and quiet.
The mole people,
Yes.
as I refer to them.
Exactly, but that's where they thrive.
Yeah.
So yes, those departments are very personality specific, I guess you could say. But then you're going to have other things like accounting and HR and marketing where you could kind of go either way.
Yeah, sure.
So to be able to
You probably don't want your accountant to be a type A personality. It doesn't really jive well with detail oriented. But yeah, and then another thing too, like we mentioned, software developers, and the reason I would never be good at that job is I don't there's an attention to detail and focus, and you got a lot of noise around you,
Oh, yeah.
it's not good.
no.
On the flip side, I always talk about you have a sales culture.
Mhm.
I want my salespeople, I want it loud. I
Yes.
want the energy. I want there to be a giant bell or just something and I don't want it to be hey, so I made a sale earlier.
No.
It's not how you should feel like you have to be. So that's part of the planning process.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that's something that you just kind of touched on is sound is also a big deal
Yeah.
in your environment. You don't want it too loud, but you don't want it too quiet either because then it's awkward.
That's also tricky too, because depending on the surfaces you're working with,
Yep.
you're going to be rolling chairs around. You don't want them on shag carpet, but
Right.
if you have hardwood floors, that's echoey.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. So
Yeah.
all those factors go into helping design a space that, again, there's so many details and so many questions, and it's based on each individual company and their personality and their people's personality, and there's no one size fits all.
There's some other things too. When it comes to innovation, creativity, stuff like that, your space can trigger it.
Yes.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And that's why you often see the marketing department just has weird zany shit, or they're just doing different stuff because they're just trying to
because they're trying to get inspired. And
yeah, but these little things too that kind of just take your mind off something. I always joke around, but I'm really not joking. So I have some of my best ideas when I'm mowing my lawn.
Mhm.
And it's because I'm busy enough pushing the mower back and forth that it quiets my head enough for some reason. Maybe it's the whirring, I don't know, but but I've realized, oh wow, I might have good ideas. So I actually started mowing my lawn with
More and
a
more.
notepad.
Oh, nice.
Well, actually, I didn't mow it one year, and I went back to mowing it because I was like, what am I
I'm
missing
not
out on?
coming up with anything creative
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, but that's important, and it's important for musicians too. That's why you often see just I don't know, recording studios and stuff like that sometimes they're either trying to be overly comfortable or sometimes they're just, I don't know, they're interesting.
Well, and that's where the different work areas come in. So I see a shift in, you've got the old way of doing it is, a mix of private offices and open workstations where you got the workstations in the middle and the private offices around the perimeter. And
What's
then you've
the
got
new way then?
the new way, what I see happening is the collaborative workspace, not like more of like the WeWork style,
Right.
where you may just be one company and you're not leasing space from co-working spaces, but you're building out your space to be more co-working like.
Right.
Where you've got a larger cafe, if you will, that your people can sit at all day, and they can have their coffee there in the morning and be in a booth situation where they're sitting and hanging out with coworkers and brainstorming, and then they can move over to a lounge chair later in the day where they can focus by themselves. Maybe you have some breakout areas that are more war room style, where people can go and collaborate and have a brainstorming session. And still maybe have those private offices too, where you can go and sit and shut the door and get some quiet time by yourself, where people aren't going to disturb you. But it's going to be more of a mix of that and not executive level C-suites and offices. And then you've got the next tier down in workstations, and then you've got the collab. It's more co-working type.
Private offices are a great thing to get employees fighting with each other and bitching about why they don't have one, or he has this or she has that.
There's still companies out there who it's based on square footage. Like your title, then you move up to the next level of square footage. And
that's kind of like the OG method. That's like the, it's like the graduate, and I get it. Now, on the flip side of that, so I used to work for a Japanese company, and no matter who you were, you had a cubicle.
Right.
Like everyone had the same type of cubicle. Everyone was treated the same, and also like it really promoted the open access. And I think that's where like you mentioned the cafe style. It's like, hey, you can come in and ask me a question.
Yeah, and you could have the owner of the company sitting in the cafe eating and having coffee, and you can just pop in, ask a question, whatever.
I struggle with that though.
With what?
My own productivity in those environments,
right?
Because I can be easily distracted.
I'm like, ooh, shiny toy.
It can be, and then sometimes too, there are some downsides to this. So sometimes this overly accessible environment leads people to, like, I want to say over interact.
Right.
Like you don't have to stop and ask me every time.
Right.
Like make a list and ask me, like not every time you have an idea, because and it's hard to conceptualize when you think about it. But I'll give you an example. I have 180 employees. If each one of them wastes 3 minutes of my day,
you're gone. You're done.
My whole entire day is gone. Actually, more than my day is gone. And when I say waste, I don't
why
mean
you
it
don't
like
sleep.
waste, but so the thing is like, just try, you can try to create some culture and structure around that where there's defined times.
Absolutely.
When
office hours.
you want to, and then there's other things too. It's funny because, in the modern workplace, you'll have someone literally sitting next to the other person, and they will be asking that person questions in Slack. You're like, hey, what are you doing later? And you're like sitting like 2 feet away. And
we've tried to do the chat feature like that. It doesn't work for us. We just get up and, we're a small office. So.
And then you have people like me that are loud.
Yes. Yeah.
Where people either secretly or just openly hate me.
I always say I don't have an indoor voice.
No.
They're very loud.
I can't help it.
I can't either.
Like whispering for me is like some people's like turning it up to 11. Okay, so once again, go to Trilogie. That's TRILOGIE.life. I love the new suffixes you can get in life.
That was intentional.
It's also tough because some people you're like, hey man, we're way past .com.
Right? Yeah. I'm like,
I feel like the world's finally getting their arms around that.
That it doesn't have to be .com.
Well, today's podcast is brought to you by Fullscale.io.
There you go.
Now, the people that utilize our services have probably run into a .io. They're usually tech businesses.
Right.
But yeah, I think I may have originally said it to my dad. He's like, .io, which technically stands for Indian Ocean.
Oh, look at that.
It's just short.
Well, I could have bought Trilogie.com for $20,000. And I was uninterested in that proposal. So Well, that's part of why these suffixes exist, and a lot of people that have created that believe that that will be the future way. Like it'll be like blah 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 .restaurant. Right. And different stuff because the internet got crowded. Yeah, no, it absolutely did. But when our parents were kids, I could call you at like 4120. Yes. Like, hey, give me a call later. Like, and then later when I actually got to the point where girls would give me a number and they would give me that many numbers, and I'd be like, hey now that's this is only right. 6 numbers. Yeah, and then we're up to 10, and that'll run out, and you can't get an 800 number anymore, and this is just kind of the way it goes. No, but .life was intentional because we are trying to impact the lives organizations that we're working with. And so I saw it and I'm like, you know what? I like it. It makes sense.
You know, it's funny too. So we invested in Healthy Hip Hop, and you can get .hip hop. So it's at healthy.hip hop.
There you go.
I was like, wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. But and now
learned something today.
And I have to add to my to-do list that I need to buy Matt DeCoursey.hip hop just in case.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
I still like to think that my career as a rapper has got some promise. I'm working.
Oh, it's there. I see it.
I'm working on my mixtape, and it's not just the game we play. So, okay, so if I wanted to hire Trilogie, I just happened to be on Instagram, and I went to Trilogie KC and saw all the cool stuff that you did. Like, how does your financial model work? I mean, is it based on you selling stuff, or is there a consulting fee, or
so what happens is we go in and talk to the client and or potential client about kind of those things I talked about earlier, like how are you with your culture? What are you trying to impact? What are you trying to, obviously retain and attract new employees and things like that. So we have that conversation, and then we will work up, at no cost. We come up with a couple different options of what we think might be a good idea in terms of if this company's building a new building. And so we work on laying out furniture, doing the space planning, kind of talking about what we think would be good options for them. And then we would just make our money if we have some sort of engagement with the client.
Sure.
Where they're like, yeah, let's move forward with this, and we'd like to partner with you for the long haul.
You'd like to think that businesses know that other businesses need to make money.
Yes.
So,
yes.
yeah, there's an. By
They
the way,
do?
I think so. Not some of the ones I
Not
talked
everyone.
to. I'll tell you what. You mentioned WeWork earlier. Oh man.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's like a whole nother subject.
It is a whole
First
nother
off,
subject.
who ever thought that was a fucking tech company? Come on.
Right.
So yeah, you guys did that to yourself, whoever you are.
It's been an interesting thing to watch.
They're a
Just
good example though. They do an excellent job of building cool places.
No, they have very
and they
cool
create
places.
a culture. Now the problem is, the question is it sustainable? Meaning on some level, like now you could do that for your own company. I've been to a lot of really cool workplaces.
Yes.
I mean for a lot of different reasons. I mean like the reasons that they're cool. Like for example, Pro Athlete.
Yep.
Have you been there?
Oh yeah, I've been there.
That place is
Austin
awesome.
Hall was on my podcast. Yes.
That is the bomb, and they sell bats, baseball bats, and they've got like a pitching. You can
It's incredible.
batting cages, basketball courts, but their culture, their business revolves around wellness, which was one of your pillars.
Yes, it is.
Were they pillars?
It's the Fab Five.
The Fab Five.
Yes, the Fab Five.
I want to come up with a cool acronym for that.
Yeah.
Could probably come up with something.
I'm sure. But yes, Pro Athletes. So I say that they're a unicorn.
But
company.
people want to work there.
Absolutely,
because like
they
you can
do.
go like the swim in the lap pool.
Yep.
Okay, when we sat down and Andrew Dallas has been on the
Yes.
show, but he's their COO. Actually, I believe he's a partner now. But they at the end of the tour, we're like in this place, and it was just like we're in like a really cool ass bar.
Yeah.
And we're just shooting the shit. I'm like, I kind of want to work here.
And that's the thing. Like they have done an exceptional job of creating the culture that works for them, and they live it, they breathe it. That building supports it in every way possible. Like it's mind blowing to go in there. So
and there's other cool places too, like Fish Tech and Martin City, and for a completely different reason. It's just like super high tech, and then they have some other open spaces, and there's a lot of different things. You'll find that people will, as we build our office at full scale. So let's talk about that for a second, because this is in the Philippines. Different expectations.
Yes.
But Matt and I went in there, and Matt's there right now. But we went in there with a disruptive attitude. We were like, well, okay, we don't like the way this is done. Things were very call centery.
Yes.
This like
The
imagine having
Philippines
like
is known for their call centers.
Well,
like that's
not
where call centers were born.
Not at our office. So we went in there, and like as we hired people, and your employees and the people that you're hiring, if you listen, they will very quickly define the culture that they want to work within.
Yes.
So as we hired the first 5 people, I literally was like, I need to know 5 things that you hated about places that you've worked.
About other
And I ask everybody that. And then what are 5 things that you loved about places? So it's really easy, people. You take the things that people overwhelmingly didn't like, and you do the opposite. Right. And you do more of the stuff they liked. But it had to do with it was cramped spaces. It had to do with equipment.
Oh, the 4-foot workspace that usual call centers get.
4 foot would be kind of wide, because these were literally like
tiny.
I mean, and I say 3 feet. Like, I mean, like elbow to elbow.
Well, they're just trying to cram people in there.
Right. And then they would, sharing equipment. Okay. So I complained. I was coughing earlier. I haven't been feeling well. You don't want to share my keyboard
Right.
all day.
No,
like,
no.
I mean, but it's just kind of gross, you know? And then, so it had to do with equipment. Windows are big just because you like to see the world.
Yes.
And then
Natural
also
light.
like they're like, you know, it's a beautiful tropical island. There's like oceans and mountains.
Yeah, you wanna
and
see
like
that.
cool stuff. Like, yeah, maybe we should see that. And then culture-wise, a lot of it just some of it had to do with, well, how much they got paid. And people in the end, really everything we just defined that might seem important doesn't mean shit if they don't feel important.
Absolutely.
So that's,
You're
I mean,
absolutely
that's
right.
the key thing.
Well, and that's
Like,
what I
the
talk
key
about.
thing.
If you're focused on the people,
Yeah. Well, our people are our assets.
They
like,
are.
We don't, I mean,
if you don't have any
without
people,
them,
you don't
I
have
can't,
it. Yeah,
I
there's
can't
no
provide
progress.
services to the many, many tech companies that employ us. But,
Yeah.
but as far as all that stuff goes, it's a huge selling point for our clients because they hire with security. They know that there's a high chance that they're going to get a happy employee. They'll be engaged. I'm not saying it's perfect every day. We have to make adjustments
No.
to things, but there's a place where they want to work and they're being treated well. They have good equipment. Like, we cater a meal.
Yeah.
We have a massage therapist. Like, you can catch a massage there. Like, I hate my office here. I'm trying to go work there. But the thing is as the leader of the company, it's way more important to me that because they're the ones that produce. They're the ones that generate the invoices and stuff like that. But really in the end, and this has worked A++++. We want top people.
Of course.
And if we don't have, and this wasn't that hard. It's not like we built Google headquarters. We made a place where people are appreciated, where they were known for it's very exclusive in the regard that we are rigid in our hiring process.
Right.
And so developers want to work around other smart people. They want to work with clients that they find interesting and engaging.
It's not rocket science.
They want to feel appreciated.
But not everyone does it.
And they want to feel like their life, people in general, if you feel like you are getting what you want out of life, you can put up with so much shit.
Absolutely.
Like, terribly.
And you're super productive and you
Yeah.
want to be. You
Yeah.
want to
Yes.
do good things for that company because it makes you feel even better that you're
Right.
appreciated and that people see the value in what you're doing.
I'll give you an example. So we do a capped billing that's based on 168 hours. Like, that's our quote deliverable. That's 21 8-hour
Right.
days. Last month, we had a ton of employees that were over 200 hours.
Oh my gosh.
They don't have to do it. They
Oh my
want to. They're
gosh.
like literally like
Because they love it.
they get to know the clients that they're working with. So our clients work directly with the people that are on there. It's their team. They just work for Full Scale.
Right.
So I can tell you what all of our clients do. I have no clue what any of them are doing because they manage their stuff.
Right.
So they buy into that. But when we talk, and the mantra that we go with is we want everyone to be client obsessed. We want you to be obsessed with the success
Yes.
that your client has, and that comes from good communication. It comes from, like, sometimes you have to dig deep and like do a little extra,
Mhm.
and then sometimes like they have good relationships, like they get it. Like, I got to leave early.
Yes.
I got a kid.
And you're
Right.
okay with that.
Well, they are.
Yeah.
Because it's very self-managed.
Yep.
So, but yeah, and then so much of that is, and that sense of freedom and not like writing down, get back to your cube.
Right. Do your check-in, time clock punching, all
That
that.
we do have to do.
You do?
Well, I mean, yeah, because otherwise I wouldn't know. With 180 people, you
Right.
don't know
Well, that's
if
true.
anyone actually was
That's too
there.
many. That's too many for me.
Well, but and I want to let's talk about how we built that. Oh man, you talk about having to learn stuff. So we were our company grew really quickly. It's a little over 18 months old, and we have 180 employees.
That's incredible
It's on the other side of the planet.
and overwhelming to me.
And well, it was overwhelming to us because we went from like, okay, so in most businesses you might go from like 10, maybe you're like, oh, now we have 15, we have 20
Right.
people. So you rent the suite next door.
Right.
Well, we did that 6 times.
Oh my gosh.
And then we were like, oh my God. And we started looking at it and we're like, at the rate that we're growing, we need a floor of a skyscraper every 4 to 6 months, which meant that we had to get into the construction
Right.
type business because you can't find any of the space to do what you want to
Which
get this
is crazy.
fucking warm
Right.
shell and like, oh great, now what do we
Great.
do?
Now
But one of the things
you
that
need
was
someone like me.
well, no, but I'm going to give you a huge endorsement because we did kind of find a
Right.
there because we go out and most places are just not equipped okay, I need 200 desks,
Right.
I need 200 chairs, and they're like, no.
What?
It's a little different there. Like here, it feels a little more accessible, but and things are often, like the cities, the traffic sucks and stuff like that, and there's just not a whole lot of people that are like, hey, I need 200 desks.
Right.
So and
Crazy.
and then you have to give it thought, like because here's the thing, it's like okay, so now you have 200 people, they're all coming to work, they got a backpack, they got a laptop, you want to get a chair that's comfortable and just like different stuff. Now the thing is that's not wildly out of reach when you have 10 employees.
Right.
But when
when
you
you
have a
start
couple
adding,
hundred, and then you think about it, you're like, and then I'm going to have a couple hundred more in a year
right.
or sooner. So how do you scale that?
Add
You
up
don't.
real fast.
Well, you don't want Frank in office.
No.
Like you
No,
want things
absolutely
because
not.
that doesn't feel good either.
It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, I've had people that buy because they want everything to match and they get it all, but then they've got half of it's empty, which is also
A
not
weird feeling.
motivating because it's like, are we successful? Are we not successful? Like what? Why aren't these seats full?
Yeah,
It's a
we're open
weird-
24 hours a day, 5 days a week, and we do like open seating.
Right. So everyone just goes.
Well, so there sometimes it's like very crowded, and then sometimes it's not.
Right.
But anybody that works at our office there is like, oh my God, they're really excited about how fast the company's grown because it's just we have awesome people there.
That's good.
Well, that's why we love our team there because they're like not self-serving.
That's awesome.
They're like, I just want the company to do well.
Yeah.
I'm like, could you say that again? Because
Well,
I don't hear that a lot.
But that's a
around here.
reflection of you.
It is and it isn't. They're very unentitled, and that's a cultural thing there that I've really learned to appreciate. And I've been doing business in the Philippines for a decade, and it's one of the reasons that I want to continue to do business there, and why I feel so good putting people I know that need high levels of expertise, and I can say, hey, look, yeah, we're going to take care of you.
Right.
We're going to have someone that's going to communicate with you, and that's something you can't build. You can't build caring.
No, you
People
can't.
care or they don't.
You cannot.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. But I think that comes back to giving them that sense of purpose and
Mhm.
giving them the sense of fulfillment.
So I did write down the word purpose because we were going to talk about that. And I think we may have just done that in some ways, but
A little bit. I think when we were talking about it, it was in terms of us finding our purpose as Trilogie, which we actually rebranded in February. So our company name for the first 9.5 years of business was Square One Interiors. And
that sounds a little vanilla or like maybe not. Like it doesn't have the
Well,
flavor that something like Trilogie does.
well, thank you. I appreciate
Although you
that.
may have sentenced yourself to spelling your name to everyone.
I
for
have,
eternity.
but I always have to spell my first name for everyone, so I'm used to that.
That is true. I did ask you if you were Courtnay or Courtney.
Very much
Yeah.
Courtney, spelled Courtnay. So
Thank your parents for that
I
one.
know.
They did that to you.
Yes, everyone's always like, "Ooh, I like the way you spell your name." I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
have-
don't because
yeah.
no one's ever spelled it
I
right.
have no,
Yeah.
that wasn't me at all. Like I got that, upon entry. So, but no. So last summer I was feeling lost, and I was not burnt out in my industry and not burnt out of what I did. I was getting restless in a sense of I felt like we were just like every other organization in my industry. Like you go to, wherever person's website, they all look the same. They're all, we're all talking about furniture. We're all talking about this and that. And
We build you the workspace
yeah,
of your dreams.
and
I
I
mean,
just,
yeah.
I didn't, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I wasn't happy. That's because I'm like, that's not us. That's
Well, it's
not,
crowded too.
It is
I mean,
very
yeah, it's
crowded. Oh, we have a
and-
very
yeah,
competitive
yeah,
industry.
yeah.
And so,
And then the people, I would imagine your biggest competitor is their potential client on some days, because some people just be like, yeah, I'm just going to go buy the furniture.
sometimes, but that's not. So the manufacturers that we represent is kind of like the auto industry. You're not going to go to General Motors itself and buy a GM car. You're going to go through a dealer. So there is a little bit of that, but in terms of, so we spent a couple months like digging in. We engaged a mentor of mine to help us, and we really defined who we are as an organization, what we wanted to impact. And again, for us, it came down to the people. Like, whoop-de-doo. A workstation is a workstation. A chair is a chair.
Not true.
Well, you get what I'm saying, though. Like
On some levels, but yeah,
every furniture dealer out there has awesome products. Many of us have the same products,
Sure.
like the exact same manufacturer. So it comes down to the people. Again, everything comes down to people. So I'm like, we've got to do something different. So we defined who we were, and part of that was defining the purpose of why we exist as an organization. And that came down to that we want to enhance life spaces to elevate the human experience. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to impact the experience that people are having in these buildings all around town, all around the country. And so that's why I wanted to talk about purpose.
You know, one of the things, and if your business is growing rapidly, and 15 years ago I didn't feel this way, and I've really learned to appreciate this in my old age. But it's more long experience, and moving is one of the most stressful things.
Oh, for sure.
That people go through. It's like divorce, moving, and maybe giving a public speech.
Yes.
Those are like the three things. That's like that's the fab three.
I've done all those things.
Well, they're miserable for most people, and I hate moving. But as a business owner, don't be afraid to reach out to Trilogie or people that do these kind of things, because focus on what you need to be doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is growing your business.
Grow your business.
Yeah, and that's like our best clients at Full Scale are. That's what they want. They're like, I'm not trying to do. So you talk about your Fab Five.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I use an acronym, RARE. We specialize in recruiting, assessing, retaining, and employing.
Okay.
So you don't have to deal with any of that.
Right.
And everyone knows that in a market that is really, really, really short of tech talent, that they have to do something to make things work, but they don't have any experience doing that stuff. So between being successful entrepreneurs and having been doing business with remote developers and in the Philippines for 10 years, we can help you focus on your business.
Right.
Yeah, and that's gone really well. But now with that, sometimes people don't appreciate that, or they don't seem to, and those aren't your good clients. You probably need a specific type of client that's good.
And we defined that.
Yeah.
When we went through the whole exercise, we defined. So there's companies out there, like you said, who are just going to go buy the product.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at the furniture as a necessary thing to put butts in seats.
Yeah.
That's not our ideal client.
That's probably not the place.
Right.
You're winning when you work out either.
Right.
But, yeah.
Right. But we want the organizations who are employee focused. They want to create, like I said, that environment that is supporting their awesome culture, that's going to help that engage those employees with that employee experience. There's going to be maybe an element of the wellness in there, and that they want to attract that top talent and retain that top talent.
That's the main thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I did another podcast that on my own. I did a solo one and talked about people that interview at organizations. I can't remember the exact statistic, but it's like somewhere in the high 30s, low 40% of the actual person, the person being interviewed for the position is judging the physical space they are in that interview.
Well, I mean, it's pretty logical to believe that, because you're saying, hey man, this is where I'm going to go every day.
Right. Right.
I mean, it is, and I think that matters, and you're as an employee, you're looking for a few things. You're looking, compensation, experience, culture. Yep. And the culture thing is important, because life's too short to
absolutely
hate what you do.
No, absolutely, you're absolutely right.
I quit 3 jobs before I was 33 that people work their life to get.
Yeah.
And by the time I quit the third one, people were like, "You're fucking
because
crazy,
it wasn't
dude."
for you. Why be miserable?
I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy.
Miserable?
Like in the last one, and I love the company. I worked for Roland, and I got to be around music. I'm passionate about music. I got to meet all kinds of cool people. But I traveled 180 days a year, and I hated it.
Yeah.
So I quit.
No.
And I didn't even know what I was going to do after that.
But that's how much you didn't enjoy it. It's
Well,
like
right.
I might as well just
I'm
going to wing it.
Yeah, I think also if you're confident in your ability to be decent, even just decent, not even good, but decent at something, I mean, you can get a job. I'm good at selling stuff, so I realized a long time ago, I'm like, I'm really in demand. People think that tech and all this other stuff are in demand.
Right.
Really what's in demand are people that bring big bags of money back to the company to pay for your fancy office that was I'm sure designed quite affordably.
Oh,
by
yeah.
Trilogie.
Well, actually, no. I do want to touch on that, because I think that there can be a little bit of a misconception that in order to create these kick-ass spaces, you have to sink boatloads of money into it, and that's not it. It's thoughtfulness and being thoughtful and intentional, and really strategic in the things that you're putting your money into. So it doesn't have to cost, $1 zillion to outfit your space. But
You can do things that, like you said, that are pretty straightforward. Like people have an appreciation for things that are communal too, like just being able, and that's one of the things. And every day that we run full scale, and like I said, this has been a challenge because there's cultural differences, and so I don't try to assume that I know what they want. And so we've just started like crowdsourcing things.
Yes.
Like for example, we were gonna, if you're gonna have a Christmas party with 180 people, and then they've all got a guest, and maybe they got kids, and all of a sudden you got 700 people, and you're like, holy shit, this is going to be expensive. So I'll give you an example. We literally just created an anonymous survey, and we use Slack. What would you prefer? To have a fancy Christmas party,
Right.
or would you rather have a modest Christmas party that we all still went to as employees,
Right.
and instead we'll take the savings and directly give that back to you through a monthly team building event? Like, 'cause in the Philippines, you can like go on like an awesome like kayaking thing for like a whole afternoon for like $10.
oh my gosh.
So technically for like $2,500, you can rent 4 buses, take the entire
Right,
company,
it'd just be an
have
amazing
everyone go do
experience.
something cool and come back. And would you rather do that 4 times and have access to that,
Right.
or have a Christmas party that you're probably not going to really give a
Yeah,
shit
I mean,
about?
whoop-de-doo. It's another
I
Christmas
mean, on some
party.
levels, but at the same time, but here's the thing: we're going to spend the money one way or the other.
Right.
So, but ask.
No, that's
Ask
what it's
people
all
what
about.
they want out of the culture at your business.
Yes.
I mean,
And then when they ask for those things, you pick a few that you can, you might get some wild things.
I'm a big fan of. I always reference listen for the echo.
Mm-hmm.
If you hear people saying the same
thing
thing
over
and
and
over
over.
again, you got a problem. You got something you got to address, and
Right.
it's like, I don't know, just weird stuff. And but on some levels too, you have to keep in mind you're running a business.
Exactly.
You can't be like, I wouldn't.
Woo, party time all the time.
Oh, our employees always like give me a hard time. They're like, "Do you know that our desks have a hammock attachment if we wanted?"
I
like,
love it.
I'm like, cool, but we're not getting that.
Someone came up with my idea. I wanted to create a credenza that had the front or back of it would fold down and have a little like tiny blow up mattress or whatever, and I was going to call it the Costanza if you remember on Seinfeld.
I was literally just thinking about that, and that's why I can't do that. The main reason I can't do it is I'm really tall, and I don't think I would have fit.
But
And I would have just lived
I
every
feel like
day
it's a
missing out.
$bazillion idea.
Maybe.
The Costanza.
I mean, some of that I scoff at on some levels too, because I think some workplaces get a little carried away, and I can't help but be on some levels be like, when do you guys work?
What are you
Like
doing?
in between using the bowling alley, the air hockey tournament, the one-on-one basketball tournament.
Yes.
Um,
When do you
the
actually
hackathon,
produce?
the Fortnite tournament, and the discussion about who was going to participate in what. Did you guys
Right.
actually do anything? So there's a healthy balance in there, and at the same time, I don't know, it's different for everyone.
It is
so.
different for everyone, and it's a constant. You don't just get the culture you want and then nailed it, and then you don't ever
It's
focus on it again.
constant,
It is
yeah,
constant.
yeah.
It's with all those things, with all 5 things that we like to talk about impacting. You have to work at those things constantly.
Yeah, I think
you'll never
that
be
the
there.
agile approach.
Mhm.
But we learned that too, because we built this first floor out. We have 2 floors in the building, and we're getting ready to move
Right.
into the second one. Taking a different approach on the second one
Right.
because we learned some stuff, just just different things. Like you think you need something, and that can be tough too, because don't box yourself in. Don't be
box
afraid to
yourself
leave
in.
some open space and
Yes.
some flexibility. Okay, so once again, go to Trilogie, TRILOGIE.life, and you can learn all about what Courtnay Bradley does at her place on the gram, as well at Trilogie KC.
Yes.
I have a feeling if you just type in Trilogie that you'll
Yes.
find it.
Yes. We have a cute. Our logo is three yellowish green bars. I say it's citron, but anyway. So that's if you see the 3 bars, that's us.
If you see these, man,
3 bars.
I'm not gonna
Citron?
shame you for that. I'd be like, turn right at the
Yes.
3 citron
Yes.
bars. I'd be like,
There we
cool.
are.
I'm not coming. I'm not gonna visit. So we like to. Oh, wait a minute. I made promises
What?
that I have to.
The money
deliver
gun?
on. Yeah, because I feel like I feel like I'm doing something to help your business here, because after you fire the money gun,
Yes.
I think you're going to understand why the culture here at the podcast is so
Okay.
amazing. Now, normally you have to win a round of mixtape, but we're going to make an exception for you here
Okay,
before we
so
do
I'm
the
gonna
Founders
take-
Freestyle.
Okay, this is so fun.
You just fire that thing
I feel
however you
so
want.
honored.
It's not empty, I
The-
don't think. Oh, yeah. There you go.
There we go.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That's awesome.
Trilogie.
Do I get to keep the money?
I don't know if you want to keep that money.
I bet this is, you know what, I'm not even going to ask.
Yeah. I felt like that was, hopefully you'll recommend some business get a money gun.
There you go. Absolutely. I
But
think I'm
by
going
the
to go buy
way,
one.
funny, you can on Amazon for $20. And I
Perfect.
doubt that was really made by Supreme.
Will it be delivered today?
If it was,
Possibly.
maybe. Now with that, I like to share a funny story, and I think you'll appreciate this. So there's times in life where you realize you haven't made it, right? Just because something happens. So
Right.
Kevin Lockett, former chief,
Yes.
and now the CFO of Fulcrum Capital, came in, and we let him fire it,
Yes.
and about 5 bills came out, and he goes, "Oh, they're only ones," and put him down. And I put the gun down, like he did not discharge the rest of the money. And I
What?
like literally at the end of that, I might have even said it on the episode. I was like, oh my God, I realized that
I have not made it yet.
not made it, and I've got a lot of work to do. Yeah.
The disappointment.
I made a comment about that on Facebook this morning. I learned early this morning that the Startup Hustle is currently the #3 entrepreneurship podcast in Botswana. Yeah. Hey. So with that, I
you
made
go
a
where the
post.
fans go, man.
I know I made a post, and thank you for everyone that listens to this worldwide. You really are
Hey,
awesome. And
Botswana.
hey, Botswana, man, we're here for you. Who do we got to climb over on this
Right,
one? Like,
yeah.
I want to know, but I made a Facebook post saying that, and I said I realize I've got a hell of a lot of work to do.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean,
So if I ever get the chance to come back, I want there to be like 50s or hundreds in here when I fire.
we
the
had
money
hundreds
gun.
in there once, and then
And then
there's
you're like,
not.
well, that doesn't. No,
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
no, but
The $1 bills were fine for
you know
me,
what's really
thank you.
funny is I bought that money gun for $20, and it's a huge hit.
Yeah.
Like it's just something that's
who doesn't
fun,
wanna
like just
fire a money
goofy
gun?
stuff. Like I've got all kinds of weird stuff around. So we like to end episodes of Startup Hustle with
Uh-oh.
the Founders Freestyle.
Oh,
So given
what is
that is you getting to say whatever
Do I
the
get
hell
to rap?
if you want.
I'm
If you
just
want,
kidding.
we can. You want? Someday I'll have a rap battle with someone.
That
I'm
would
not
be
sure.
fun. If I would have been more prepared.
If I wasn't coughing so much, I'd feel
Yes.
like I don't want to set myself up for failure. But
Founders
when I say
Freestyle.
the Founders Freestyle, meaning like we're ending the episode.
Right.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
Yes, and
We can't
but,
go on all day.
But with that, and because of our conversational format, and that I'm not interviewing you, I don't
Right.
know. There may be something you want to resolve. You could give advice to people. You could pitch your business. You could
You know-
tell us why you expect us to know what Citron really looks like.
I want to. Can I give props to my team?
You can do whatever you want. It's your freestyle.
We've been in business for 10 years now, and we've had some employees who aren't with us anymore, who just didn't fit for whatever reason.
It happens.
It happens, you can't, everyone's not going to be perfect for everything. And, but the team we have now is just so incredible. I've had two, Katie and Megan have both been with me for over 5 years now. Katie will be 6 years in April. Bryce just came on about 5 weeks ago and feels like he's been there forever. So, he's just jumping right into everything. And then Dara, who's our virtual
You might
admin.
know Bryce.
Yeah, you might know Bryce.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He used to work for Aaron Folk.
He did, yes.
Yeah, I love
yes.
Bryce Reeves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bryce is awesome.
He is awesome. So he was actually.
I don't know why I just felt like I
Yeah.
knew that was like this the only Bryce.
Yeah.
But I could see him fitting in with that. He's a very lively
Oh
personality.
my gosh,
great,
he's just
great to
jumped
be
right
around.
in.
Yeah,
So Lillian James does
Yeah.
all of our social and
Yeah.
all of our creative and all of
yeah.
that. And they're
Aaron's a friend and a Startup Hustle alumnus. Yeah.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
they do a great job. And Bryce was our account rep. And when I found out he was leaving, I texted him and I said, "You're dead to me." And
And he probably responded.
he was like,
colorfully,
"What?"
Yeah.
I don't understand. I'm like, "You're leaving? What am I supposed to do?" And so I said, "If you ever want to talk about furniture and design, let me know." And here we are. So
Yeah. And by the way, go to LillianJamesCreative.com.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
And follow Aaron Folk on LinkedIn. She's got a lot of
She's
really
all over
interesting
there.
stuff when it comes to marketing and networking and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And that's how I know her.
Yeah.
And so
No, it's all awesome.
Well,
so I want to give props to my team. They're
I
awesome.
like it.
I would not be here without them. So Thank you.
And by the way, you're like the only person that's ever done that.
What?
Founders Freestyle's kind of new because we're kind of like, wanted to have a way to round things out. And
Right.
then I thought, man, if we put a clever name on that. And then sometimes people get freaked out by it. They're like, wait, what?
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
No, my team. I'll always give props to my team.
And that's strong because you should. And your business is built around that. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Overall, like I think I'll close with a couple things. Well, first off, Trilogie, TRILOGIE.life. There's a lot to be said about a company like yours that does a value add when it comes to like the layout of a building, especially if you have a lot of space. Because, I mentioned we have 10,000 square foot spaces. And a lot of thought.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a lot more work than you think it is. I mean, you literally have to like actually get scientific with that.
Right.
Different stuff. And then there's a lot to be said about, I mean, look, are you good at designing this kind of stuff? Meaning, I know you are, Courtnay, but are you listener? Like, get some people that know what they're doing in and around your life, whether it's to help you do your layout or just different stuff, man. I mean, and focus on doing what's important. Get back to that. Because if you're not doing things that are growing your business or getting the people around you that are going to help your business have an advantage and be awesome, you need to go back to the drawing board and figure out what you need to do. So, along with that, once again, if you want to check us out, we're at Startup Hustle Podcast. We will put some cool pictures. I will be posting your money gun.
I will be sharing it.
Yeah, most people do. It's amazing, like how awesome people think the money gun is. So
Well, I loved it. It was
I had to
the highlight.
I had to buy one. Well, I don't know how to take
You said
that.
you have a gold one. Where's
I do.
that
It's
one?
down in the corner.
Mhm.
You haven't earned that yet.
Okay.
You did okay.
That's my goal.
the gold money gun.
Yes.
I wish it was really gold.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny is you talk about like setting expectations and like quickly being disappointed. So
Right.
the money gun we just fired, you can check it out on Instagram. It's red.
Right.
It says Supreme on it. The gold money gun, as it turns out, is something I bought on Amazon that is really just a red money gun that someone painted gold.
Oh, wow.
It's not.
Not as.
No, it will really kind of ruin your hopes and dreams and expectations like that. So, with that, see y'all next time.